Olá, tudo bem? I'm Emma from Portuguese Language Lessons. Here's a really short video to talk you through the most common irregular past tense verbs that you'll come across. The past tenses of ser, ir, ter and estar. I've made a little worksheet. First of all, here we've got ir and ser. I always say we get two for the price of one here, because the forms are identical, both in the way we write them and the way we say them. Okay, so we've got fui, foste, foi, fomos, and foram. Okay. Let me read out for you the different forms for different people. Eu fui, tu foste, você foi, ele foi, ela foi, nós fomos, vocês foram, eles foram, elas foram. Okay. Now, very often when I tell students this, they ask me, but how am I going to know which is which? And I always say the context makes it absolutely clear. Okay. Here we've got some examples, some questions that we'll look at making the answers for. Before we do that, to help us be confident that we will know what the difference is when we see these in context, when we've got ir, what's after the verb? Foram à escola, foi à reunião, foste à praia, foram a tomar, foi para casa, foste ao supermercado, foi ao rio. After the verb, we've always got a or para and then a place. So that is always meaning went. And now when it means ser, look what we've got after the verb. Foi bom, foram boas, boa, interessante, foi difícil, foi divertida, foste bom. So here, when it means ser, we've always got an adjective that's describing something that's a characteristic or inherent, as we would expect with the verb ser. Okay, so that can really help you figure out which is which. Okay, in practice I find we never really get confused about which is which. Okay, so I always think the best practice with these verbs is practicing questions and answers, and particularly practicing when it's you. Did you? I did. Did yous? We did. Okay, so these are really nice little questions and answers. Here we've repeated the verb in the answer, and this gives us the idea of emphasis. So vocês foram à escola? Fomos. In two here, a senhora means you, madam. A senhora foi à reunião? Fui. I did. Foste à praia? Fui. Os senhores foram a tomar? Fomos. O João foi para casa? Foi. Foste ao supermercado? Fui. Vocês foram ao rio? Fomos. Okay? And now when it means ser, o passeio foi bom? Foi. As férias foram boas? Foram. A peça foi boa? Foi. O filme foi interessante? Foi. O teste foi difícil? Foi. A viagem foi divertida? Foi. Foste bom aluno ou boa aluna na escola? Fui. So the other difference is very often we're describing things with ser, like I said, and so in these question answers we're usually using the same verb in the question and the answers. The answers are at the end of the worksheet. So we can use this a lot to say, have you been to, have you ever been to? So a question could be, já foi a or já foste? Já foi a Londres? Já lá fui. I've already been there. Nunca lá fui. I've never been there. Notice how in English it's a lot more complicated. We use two verbs. Have you ever been to? So we need to change our verbal tense to give the idea of it being something relevant, and here we're meaning in your whole life. Whereas in Portuguese, I can use the past tense and still include that relevance by just adding in the word já. So avoids having to change our tenses from did you go to have you been. Okay, food for thought there. So we can talk about different cities, and most languages change some of the very common cities to their own versions, like Londres is London, Lisboa, of course in English we change it to Lisbon, Nova York, New York, Berlin, Atenas, there's others like Edimburgo, I could write that one in, that's a nice one, Edimburgo. Can you think of any others? And nice practice to practice with that. Now let's look at estar and ter. These are also super common verbs, and here we study these together because they are almost identical, aren't they? Excuse me. So let's have a look. Estar with its super soft E, estive, estiveste, esteve, estivemos, estiveram. And ter, tive, tiveste, teve, tivemos, tiveram. Excuse me. Okay. So here we've got the third person being different. And I often say, if in doubt, I for I, Steve, tive, I for I. So the one that's got the I in it is the I form. Okay, I forgot to say, also here we've got another I, but I guess we've got it in the third person too, fui. Yeah. But definitely with the estar and the ter, if in doubt, if you're mixing up the first and the third one, remember I for I. Okay, and E for the third person. Let me read through them, and if you want you can repeat after to practice. Eu estive, tu estiveste, você esteve, ele esteve, ela esteve, nós estivemos, vocês estiveram, eles estiveram, elas estiveram. And then for ter, eu tive, tu tiveste, você teve, ele teve, ela teve, nós tivemos, vocês tiveram, eles tiveram, elas tiveram. So remember, as usual, the very end, the ão, is very soft in terms of pronunciation, and we're always making the E soft with the estive, estiveste, and the S is sh sounding. When I hear people talking quickly, these two verbs can sound exactly the same. I might hear people, as well as dropping the E, also dropping the S. Okay, just for you to know that you might hear that. Okay. Okay then, so that's the forms. Again, here we've got some examples, and practicing primarily the ones where it's you or yous with I or we as the answers. Okay, whenever we don't have the person specified, so especially in the third and the fifth form, estiveram and esteve, we always presume that means you. Okay, so that and remember that a senhora, o senhor means you, sir, or you, madam. Okay, so let's go through. Estiveram no trabalho ontem? Estivemos. Ele esteve em casa? Esteve. Esteve na casa da Maria, na festa da Maria? Estive. A senhora esteve em Coimbra? Estive. Estiveste doente? Estive. O senhor esteve na reunião? Estive. Estiveram na praia? Estivemos. Okay. And then with ter, a senhora teve muito trabalho? Tive. Teve problemas nas finanças? Tive. Tiveste boa nota no teste? Tive. Tiveram dificuldades com o teste? Tivemos. Teve uma consulta ontem? Tive. Tiveste calor na praia? Tive. Teve medo do cão? Tive. Okay, so some good examples here. And again, nice to look at these examples if you're thinking about the differences between ser and estar. So here, with ser, we're talking about how things were. They were good, they were interesting, difficult, fun, things that are quite concrete characteristics of things that are not transient. Whereas with estar, we're talking about where people were, or if someone was sick. So this is something that's transient, changeable, movable. So very often this issue of ser and estar becomes more difficult in the past tense. We get in the habit of using just one or the other. So look at these examples, maybe memorize some of them to help you. Now, as an alternative to the já foi a, we can say in Portuguese já esteve em or já estiveste em. As an alternative, have you ever been in? It works fine in Portuguese, even though it doesn't sound so good in English. Já esteve na Inglaterra? Já lá estive. Nunca lá estive. Okay. Again, have you been? Two verbs in English, just one in Portuguese by adding in the já. Okay. So here, just to practice, we could talk about different countries, talking about if we've been there or not. But remember, because countries are pretty much always preceded by u, a, us or aj, which is determined by the last letter of the country, the ain switches to a nu, na, nush or naj in this case. Okay then, so that's a little introduction for you on these 4 verbs, which actually become just 3 different forms in the past tense. Okay, ciao ciao!